And then these AI tools can actually save us time, right? So the goal is to learn how to use them well, and then learn how to prompt them to give us better results so that it saves us time, and then we have time to do other things. So we are going to look at, as I said, the four main tools: Chat GPT, Gemini, Copilot, and Notebook LM. Chat GPT was actually developed by OpenAI, and then it's mainly used for brainstorming, drafting, and feedback. Gemini was also developed by Google, mainly used within Google Docs, Slides, and Gmail. Then Copilot was developed by Microsoft, used for data writing like coding, and then it is also very good when you use it with the apps like Word, PowerPoint. Then Notebook LM is mainly for creating PDFs, right? So you upload a PDF to it, and then you ask it questions about the PDF, and it answers you. So these are the four tools you're going to be looking at. Now, first of all, let's start by logging in. I mean, if you have, okay, so someone is asking where the slides can be located. I can just share the link right now. Let me pause and share the link now.
Doc, please, if we could have the section afterwards, we can share the slides to everyone. Okay, you shared it.
It's been shared. It's fine. Right. So I can continue, right?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. So the first tool we are going to look at is the Chat GPT. And then first of all, we have to always log in. So if you have your PC, if you have two screens, I think most of us always have two screens, right? So you can follow along while also being engaged, because it's going to be very, very practical. Right? So the first tool is Chat GPT. You just have to click on the link or just Google Chat GPT. And then the first link that comes up, you just log in. So you can actually use all the tools without logging in. But what happens is that the tools limit you. If you don't log in, you're actually limited to a few queries in a day. Right? About one or two, you can actually prompt it one or two times, and then they say your limit is up. Right. So what you have to do is that if you have not logged in, you just have to sign in. You just click on sign in here, and then you can sign in with a number of accounts. You can sign in you can sign in with your Google account, Microsoft account, Apple account, or even your phone. And now, after you sign in, this is the interface you see. Right? And then they are always updating. So even today, when I opened it, I saw that they've done a little bit of update. Now, so this is the interface for Chat GPT. I hope we all know. And then they say I've hit my limit. So I was using it for something else. So I hit my limit. So pardon me. Right. So the first thing is that when you open the tool, this is how it looks like. Now, as I said, once you have logged in, people just start to use it, right? They start to give it some prompts and stuff like that. But what you have to do, first of all, is you have to set it up. You set it up by coming down here, my far right, click here, and then go to personalization. So this is where you personalize the tool. First of all, you have to choose the style and then the tone, right? It gives you a balanced style, which is the default. But sometimes you want all your responses to be friendly, professional, or candid, or something like that. So you have to choose the tone you want it in. It's very important. So choose the tone, and then you give it some custom instructions, right? You want all your prompts or all your answers to be like this. You want all your answers to be short. You want your answers to be bullet points and stuff like that. Now, next, you can tell it about yourself. Sometimes you want the tool to know who you are, so that it gives you better prompts based on what you do, right? So you can input your name and your occupation, so that it knows what you do, and then it gives you better prompts about yourself. You can tell it more about yourself, your interests, your values, your preferences, and stuff like that. Now, what is important again is that we have what is known as reference saved memories. So, for instance, if I come to this tool, I've used it a lot, right? But if I come and just create and say, for instance, who am I? So this, the response it gives me, ah, a classic who am I, but I need a bit more to go on. Are we doing a riddle, a personal reflection, or a puzzle? So you know that basically this chat doesn't know, this chat does not know who I am, right? But I've used it a lot. As you can see here, all my charts are located on my right side. I've used it a lot, but it doesn't know who I am. So what happens is that when you come to your personalization, it's just because this is not engaged, right? So once I click on this one, reference saved memories. Now, once I do that, what happens is that it can go back to my chart that it can go back to my charts, right? And now be able to tell me who am I. So what is important is that once you enable the reference saved memories, it will be able to remember some of your previous charts, and then once you answer the question, it will be able to give it to you. Again, what is also important is that anytime I create a chart, the chart is saved here, right? So you see, I've created so many charts, and then they've been saved. When I come here to my settings, you can see that my chart for the free version of chat, it limits you. So my memory is 86% full, right? So it means that for the free version, I can't actually save all my charts, right? So what happens is that I can come to manage my charts and actually delete some of them, right? If not, once it gets to 100%, it means that I can't save any more charts. That's very important. Now, again, they have added some few more features to the tool, and then what happens is that I can actually so if I don't want to save any charts, what happens is that I can click on my far right, the top corner. There's turn on temporary charts. Once I turn on this temporary chart, what happens is that anything I type here will not be saved, right? So if my memory is full, and then I want to use um, or I don't want to save any of the charts, I can just come and enable the turn on temporary charts, and anything, any any prompt I give it here will not be saved, so that my memory will actually remain intact. So that's another thing. Now, for you to upgrade, you can upgrade your chat GPT. What happens is that the free version is actually $0. You don't pay anything, but they have other versions that you pay for. So we have personal account and business account. For the personal account, it starts from $5 to $20 to $200. So depending on what you want. So with the $5, the 20, and then the $200, they give you more memory to save your chats. They give you an option to choose the model that you want to use, right? But this, once you choose any option here, it's actually personal. So only one person is linked to the account. If you want to include more people in the account, you have to come to business. Right? Once you come to business, what happens is that you can include from more than 2 people, right? So if you come to business and then I select 2 people here, the charge is about $60 a month, right? So here 2 people can use the account. 2 people can use the account at the same time. If I increase it to about 5 or 6, it increases, right? So about 6 people, it will be about $180 a month, right? So that is the business account of ChatGPT. Now, again, there's a little bit hack here, right? If I want to create account, if I have just one account and I want to include other people, right? So perhaps for the $20 version of the personal account, I can put to pay $20 for it, and then I can have 5 of my colleagues all coming together to pay, right? We do 20 divided by 4 or 5 people. So if you do it 5 people, each person pays about $5. Now, what happens is that when you do that, you come to, there's a new feature known as projects, right? So if I have more people, I'll just create a project for them. So you just click on projects. It's on my left. Click on projects, and then you enter the person's name. Perhaps Dennis. So I'll enter Dennis. And then it will create an entire project for me. So anytime I log in as Dennis, or anytime I log in as Dennis, I can just come and click on it and create new chats, right? I can give it anything, upload documents to it. I can also include more people. I can create another new project, give it another name. Create new project, give it another name. Let's say AMA. Right? If you create a project for AMA, can come again, create for, let's say, Frank. And it will create. So now I've created 3 people, right? I've created projects for 3 people. So here, if we are 3 people and then we all contribute to pay the $20, anytime we come into the tool, we can just click on, once I come in as Dennis, I just click on Dennis and start to chat with it. Right? Once I come in as Amma, I just click on Amma and start to chat with it. Once I come in as Frank, I click Frank and start to chat with it. So that's a little bit hack that 2 or more people can use just one account. Hope I'm clear. All right, so we continue. Right, so now we have seen ChatGPT and its interface. Now we go to the next tool, which is the Gemini, developed by Google. In the same way, we have to log in. We always have to log in. If you don't log in, as I said, you can still use the tool, but you're actually limited. So with the Gemini, just go to the link here, or just Google Gemini. The first link that comes out is it. Just click on it, and then on the top right, you just sign in. You click on sign in, and then they always want you to sign in with your Google account because it was developed by Google. So you sign in with your Google account, and then it opens the interface for you, which is the Gemini. And again, once you begin to use Gemini, don't just begin to use it, right? Make sure that you personalize it. So you come here, come to your far right, the bottom, which is the settings, and then you click on personal context. So here, what happens is that you just click on add, and what happens is that you tell it about yourself, you tell it about your profession. I want my answers to be short, I want my answers to be long, I want my answers to be professional. My audience are mainly high school students or university students or stuff like that. So you enter all that prompt here, and once that one is done, the tool now knows you. So anytime you create a new chat, it knows that you are this, your name is this, you work here, you want your responses to be perhaps short, long. Your audience are mostly high school students or whatever. So you just create it here and personalize it. Very, very important. Now, again, we also have here the temporary chat. Again, all the tools, you can save your chats, but the memory gets full with the free version. So sometimes you want to always make sure that you're using the temporary chat. So you can just enable it here. You can create a new chat and always enable the temporary chat. If you don't want to save any chat, just enable the temporary chat, and anything you type will not be saved. So that will save your memory a little bit, right? Okay, so now with the Gemini also, we have a free version, but there are also paid versions. The first paid version is 35 cedis a month. The next is about 290 cedis a month. And then the last one is the 1,800 cedis a month. And then what happens is that once you pay for the Gemini, you are also paying for more storage for your Google Drive. For instance, if I pay $35 a month, I have a storage of about 200 gigabytes. If I pay $290 a month, I have a storage of about 2 terabytes. If I pay 1,800, I have a storage of about 30 terabytes. What is also important is that if you pay for the Gemini, it also comes with the Notebook LM, which is another tool you're going to be looking at, right? Now, our next tool is the Google Copilot. Again, just go to the link or you Google Copilot, and then you also have to log in. Now, you can log in with your Microsoft account, your Apple account, or your Google account. And then what is important about this tool is that if you have an institution that have already paid for Microsoft or is it Office 365, right? Once you log in with your institution account, you can get access to the Copilot for free. So this is also the interface of Copilot. Let me just open it. So this is the interface for the Copilot. And then again, on your left side, you have your charts, and anytime you actually log in, you have to always come and personalize it. So here we click on my far left at the bottom, then you click on manage memory. So here I can start a conversation, and then anything I want it to remember about me, my name, my profession, my audience, my research, my whatever, I will input it here. And once I do that, and then I click enter, what happens is that the tool will always remember, even if I log, even if I log out and log in again. Right. Now, what happens again here is that for the co-pilot, we can choose the model in which we want to use. We can choose smart, which it will think very deeply based on the task involved. We can choose quick response, which is best for everyday uses, and then deep thinking and stuff like that. So you have to go and explore with all of this. Just choose one of them and see the kind of response it gives you. Right. And then again, this is also, there's a free version, and then there's also a paid version. For the paid version, the price is $11.49 a month for personal, and then $19.99 a month for premium. But what is important here is that for the premium, you can have up to 1 to 6 people using a premium account. Now, our last tool is the Notebook LM. Again, you just have to Google Notebook LM. The first link that comes out is always it. And then once it comes, this interface will open, and then you just click on Try Notebook LM. And once you try Notebook LM, you again have to log in. And then mostly we always log in with our Google accounts. Right? And then once you log in, you can start to create new notebooks. And then we will explore this through tomorrow, because it's very, very important for our research. So you will pause on this tool here, and then you will use it more tomorrow. Right. So now again, when you pay for Google Gemini, you automatically pay for Notebook LM also, and then it comes at $35, 35 CDs, and then 290 CDs, and then 190 CDs. I think somebody has a question.
Madam Lantana, please, you have your hand raised. So, Doc, if I may come in. So it's an interactive section. Doc says if you have any question, you can ask, interrupt him and ask. So we've seen a hand up. Madam Lantana, Doc, please, you can continue in case anyone, maybe it's a mistake.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so now that we have logged into all the Pro tools, and then we know what we have actually personalized it to know us. All the tools come with free versions, but the only issue is that the free versions are actually very limited. For instance, for ChatGPT app, once you upload about 2 or 3 documents and start to create, you hit your daily limit. Same with all the tools. The paid versions are actually better, but you need to have a way of making sure that you maximize using the tools, right? So now that we have done with installing or logging into the tools and setting up, we move into the main course for today, which is prompt engineering. So perhaps I'll pause it, and then if anybody has any question about how to install the tools or how to personalize the tools, they can ask. Any question? Any contribution? Okay, so I think I can continue. So
Yes, please.
yes, let's enter into the world of prompt engineering. Now that our tools are set up, and then we are ready to start asking it questions. Now, I mean, what is prompt engineering? The prompting just means that we are giving the AI tool an input, right? You give it an input, and then the AI tool gives you an output. But what is important is that the input you give it is very important because it's the input that the AI tool is going to use to guide itself into giving you an answer, right? So once we have to learn how to engineer our prompts so that it gives us a specific thing we are asking for. If not, it's a kind of garbage in, garbage out tool, right? Once we give it garbage, it, it turns out garbage, right? So we are going to look at some kind of prompting techniques. There are a lot of them. We are going to look at 0, 1, or few prompting. We are going to look at using output templates. We are going to look at providing clues and hints. We are going to look at separating instruction from content. We're going to look at ask before prompting and then emotional prompting, right? So, as I said, prompt engineering is mainly that you need to give it good prompts and then it gives you good results. If you give it prompts that are big, it will give you big response. If you give you if you give prompts that are actually general, it will give you kind of a general response. For instance, if you just ask your tool that how to write a research paper, of course, it's going to give you very general response, right? Now you can refine this one by saying that, oh, how to write a research paper about the use of AI in Ghanaian universities. Now you have actually given it some kind of context to go by, right? It's a research paper, but you're giving more context, like the use of AI in Ghanaian universities. Right? Now, the core elements of a good prompt is that a good prompt should have a goal. That's the first element. And then the second element is that it should have context, right? You should always add additional information to your goal, right? Sometimes we just always give it a goal, like write an article about this, and then we are done. We need to give it more context, right? So that it gives out better output. Now, there's an optional element that is actually very, very useful when it comes to engineering our prompts, which is the role, right? So now, other than only go, we have role and go, right? You also always give it a role and then give it a goal. Once you open a new chat with all the tools, with all the tools, once you open a new chat, it assumes the persona of everything, right? The tool, the AI tool is a carpenter, it's a nurse, it's a doctor, it's an engineer, is a researcher, it's a lecturer, right? It assumes all of these forms, right? So once you give it your goal, like write an article about this, it just picks one persona. So perhaps you don't want it to pick to write the article as perhaps a nurse or something like that, right? So you always have to give it a role. The role can be like you are an experienced researcher in the field of AI in education. That is the role. Now the goal will now come after. The goal will be write a short article about the use of AI in Ghanaian universities, right? So here you're giving it a role, you're giving it a goal. So here you know that the tool will now remove all those other personas, the persona of a nurse, of a all that, and then it assumes the persona of a researcher. And not only a researcher, it assumes the persona of a researcher in the field of AI in education, right? So once you do that, you will get very, very good results. So the role, very important, and then the goal. Right? As I said, the role is always optional, but it's very, very vital to giving you very good answers. Okay. So I think somebody is asking that some people are reporting that the meeting room is full.
Yes, Doc. So tomorrow we are trying to get a Zoom link so that we could open it because the Google Meet takes 100. I think
Uh,
probably that's why. Yeah, majority of them can't join. But since we have the slide available, we are working on that so that we can get a bigger room capacity, meeting room capacity tomorrow. Sorry, please, apologies for that.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you.
So please, you can go on.
Thank you. So always give it a role and give it a goal. Now we have another element that must always be added, which is recommended. It is the constraints and extra information, right? Once you give it your role, once you give it a goal, give it extra information so that it refines your output for you. For instance, again, your role is you are an experienced researcher in the field of AI in education. The goal is write a short article about the use of AI in Ghanaian universities. Now the constraints are, or the extra information are this. The article should be short. That's the constraint of it. And the target audience are high school students. At the end of the day, highlight two advantages of AI in education, right? Once you give it a form like this, you have your role, your goal, and constraint. So it will write a short article. It knows the target audience, and then in the end, it will highlight two advantages of AI in education. So this is a very, very good prompt, right? Right, so I did that, and then it was able to give me a very, very short article, and then the article was actually focused on high school students, and at the end of the day, it gave me two advantages of the use of AI in learning this. And then this is always the first answer it gives you is always a starting point. You can always go back, or you can always refine it, right? Because it's a chat. Just tell it, oh, the article is too short. I want it to be a little bit longer, then it make it longer for you. Or now the target audience are now perhaps university students, right? It will refine it for you. So it's a chart. Your first answers are always just the starting point. So always refine it as much as possible. The only thing is that with the free versions, as much as you refine it, that's when you hit your daily limits quickly, right? So it's always important that you have all the information within one prompt so that it generates it for you. Anytime it regenerates an answer, it uses the entire answer plus the prompt as your daily limit, right? It counts all those to amount to your daily limit. So you must make sure that you write prompts that are complete, right? That only generate answers at once, and then those answers can be used. Uh, Now, when we say you need to add extra information, we don't have to add a lot of extra information, right? Like long, long sentences and trying to explain ourselves. The extra information should be very short and focused sentences, right? You should add keywords and always avoid unnecessary information. It's very important that we always try to define our target audience. Any article we're writing or anything we're writing, always define the target audience, and also always control the tone, the style, and the length of the output. Right? Very important. The length, it should be short. The article or whatever you are generating should be friendly or professional. Right? So always control the tone, the style, and the length. Right? So for instance, I can just create a prompt like this. Write an email to a colleague researcher that you need feedback on your submitted draft by the end of the week. Right? This is a very, very general prompt, and then let's see the answer it will generate for us. So if I just copy this and then I go to my Gemini, create a new chat. And then I say write an email to a colleague researcher that you need feedback on the submitted draft by the end of the week. And I hit enter. All right, so this is what it gives me. So it says that it gives me the subject, which is draft paper review request. And then you see anything when the tool generates any answer for you, and then you see some text in square brackets, it means that it is asking you for extra information. So here it's asking me for your paper title. So if you see anything in square brackets, right, it's always asking for extra information because you did not give it that information. So if I say just write an email to a colleague researcher that we need feedback on your submitted draft by the end of the week. It doesn't know the paper title, but it needs it, right? So it gives you a square bracket, your paper title. Then it comes to say, dear colleague's name. So another square bracket. It means that it's lacking, right? Your prompt is not good. Your prompt was not good enough to give it a name, right? So it says dear colleague's name. So it wants you to input your colleague's name over here. Then it gives you and writing to all of that. And then after that, it comes to say best regards, and then even you didn't even give it your name, and then your title or affiliation, right? So anything you see in square brackets means that it's asking for extra information. So that's why prompt engineering comes in. So you don't always want to go back and then now I will enter my colleague's name is this, right? The title of the file is this. Once you are doing that, you will hit your daily limit very early, right? So what you do is that all this information is asking for, you have to include it in your prompt. For instance, what I did was that I said you are an email writing assistant. That is the role I gave it. I said, write an email to a colleague researcher that you need feedback on your submitted draft by the end of the week. Then I said, the email should be friendly, right? Make it clear that the feedback is needed by the end of the week. Write a short, concise email. My colleague's name is Dr. Graham. My name is Dr. Gookyi. So with this, you have provided it with a lot of information. I mean, not all the information is there, but this is far better than you just giving it a general kind of information, like a general kind of prompts, like write an email to a colleague researcher that you need feedback on your submitted. So if I copy this and use it to refine my prompt, let's see what it will give us. So here, first of all, it knows my colleague's name, right? Hi, Dr. Graham, how are you doing? All of that. And after that, it knows my name also. Best regards. So I can just copy this one. Of course, there are some that are like the paper titles and stuff like that. So that one can be included in the prompts, right? So those are the core elements of a good prompt. The prompt should have a goal. The prompt should have a role, first of all. It will have a goal, and then it will have some constraints, right? Now, our next thing is we are going to look at some type of some types of prompts. So we have a prompting technique known as 0, 1, and few short prompting, right? So now, when you always provide your prompt with examples, right? You ask your tool, or you ask your AI tool to use the examples that you provided to give you better answers. It is always good, right? For instance, if you have something like 0 prompts or 0 short prompt, what happens is that you don't provide it with any example whatsoever. You just go straight to it. Write a short statement about the use of AI in Ghanaian universities. There are no examples whatsoever, right? So it will generate a general kind of thing for you. But if you want it to assume the tone and style of an example, you always have to give it that example so that it picks it from there, right? For instance, if you take one short prompting just means that you are giving it one example. For instance, you can just come and say that, write a short statement on the use of AI in Ghanaian universities. Use a similar tone and structure as the example I will provide. Do not use the content of the example. Here is the example, right? So you give it an example. You give it this example, the use of AI in Ghanaian universities is still evolving, all of that. So now, speaking from this example, it will generate the content based on that example. It will generate the content, the tone, it will use the tone of the example you have given it. It will use the structure of the example you have given it, but it will not use the content of the example. It will generate a different, it will generate different content. It will generate different content, but it will assume the tone and then the structure of the example you've given it. So that is just what is known as one short prompting, right? So you have given it just one example. There are other ones also known as the few short prompting, right? Here, you give it several examples, 2, 3, 4, 5 examples. For instance, you just say that, write a statement on the use of AI in Ghanaian universities. Use a similar tone and structure as an example I'll provide. Do not use the content of the example. Here are 2 examples. We give it 2 examples, and then it will generate your answer for you based on the 2 examples. It will use the tone and then the structure of those 2 examples you gave it to give you a better answer. So always, sometimes you will have to give it an example so that it picks or it assumes the tone and the structure of those examples so that it gives you better results. Now, the other one is that you must always, another prompting technique is that you must always give it an output template, right? For instance, you give it a prompt like, write a short research article about the use of AI in Ghanaian universities, And then you tell it that format your response like this. You must have abstract, keywords, introductions, early signs of AI adaptation, challenges, the road ahead, and conclusion, right? If you don't format it this way, it gives you a general kind of answer, right? But sometimes you always want it to write or give you your content in a formatted way, and then that will make your answers better. For instance, if I just copy this, if I copy this prompt, go to my Gemini and I create a new chat. All right, so this is what it gives me because I've given it a format, abstract, keywords, introduction, early signs of adaptation. It gives me my abstract, it gives me my keywords, it gives me my introduction, early signs, and all of that, right? And then it does it very well for me. And then I can actually go back to the prompt and change it. Oh, add more styles, like add something else, and then make sure that the target audience are this and stuff like that. So it's always important to give it a format so that your output is generated in that format for you. All right, so now sometimes also you have to give it hints about how to generate your output, right? For instance, you say that you are an AI assistant that summarizes or that summarizes articles, right? Summarize the article above or below or whatever. And then like this, you want it to start like this, right? The key takeaways from the article are, that's how you want it to start. So you're giving a clue about how to start giving you an answer, right? So once you do that, your answer will start with the key takeaway from the articles or the page or whatever this, and then your answer will be given. So let me show you one good thing about the Google Copilot. So if I come, so here Google Copilot comes integrated with the Edge browser. So if you have an Edge browser and you just open the Edge browser, and then you open any link at all, any web page at all. So let me go to our CSIR Institute site. CSIR Institute. Come to, let's say, about Insti, right? So this is Edge browser. I've opened this page. On your top right, and I hope you can see on your top right, there is the chat. There's a chat, which is the Google Copilot. So I can open any page or any web page at all and start chatting with it, right? And start asking questions about that page, right? I don't need a link to that page and stuff like that. But because Google Copilot come integrated with the Edge browser, I can just go and copy my prompt here. So I just copy this prompt. I want it to I want it to summarize the page for me, and then starting with like the key takeaways. So I come, you are an AI assistant that summarize the page starting like this, the ways the key takeaways of the page are, and someone might be all right. So what happens is that Mr. Muhammad, please. Dr. Nuruddin, I think your already your mic. Okay. All right. So here, what Copilot is doing is that you've not referenced the link. You just open the link, and you just open the page, and then you start chatting with it. That's the wonderful thing about Copilot. So what it does is that because you said the key takeaways of the page are, I said summarize the page starting like this. The key takeaway of the page are, then it starts. The key takeaway of the page are, they gives me the origin of CSR, the mandates of CSR, the role of INSTI, is this mandate, vision, structure, and stuff like that. So yeah, it has just given me the key takeaways from this Insti homepage, the About Us page, right?
Oh, bet me I would the other loud.
So now, what is also important is that sometimes the two always struggle, right? Sometimes we feed it with too much information that it begins to struggle about what is an instruction and then what is content, right? For instance, we wanted to summarize some text for us. Once we copy the entire text into the tool, sometimes it begins to struggle because it doesn't know what the instructions are, it doesn't know what the content is. So you have to always separate the instructions from the content. And what you do that and how you do that is very, very simple. All you do is that you give it your role, which is you are an AI assistant that specializes in summarizing articles. Then what is known as the separator. So it's three inverted commas or three dashes, mostly three dashes. You give it the role, then come down and give it three dashes, dash, dash, dash. Then you put your content there, right? Perhaps it's an article you want it you want it to actually summarize. You put the content after the three dashes. Then after that, you give it another three dashes. Then you come and give it your cues and then hints, right? Summarize the above article starting like this. Now, once you do this, it knows you'll be able to separate or you'll be effectively able to separate information or content from instruction, right? The instruction is the instruction they summarize the above article starting like this. Now, if you lump everything together, sometimes the AI tool always struggle to know what is instruction from data. So always start with your role, give it three dashes, give it the content, paste the content there, another three dashes, and then you now give it your instructions. Summarize the above article like this and stuff like that, right? So this is how you separate instructions from, or this is how you separate instructions from content. All right, there's a hand up.
Yes, Doug. And we have some questions in the chat box as well. So maybe we'll let Yao Chumberima ask his question, then we can answer. You can answer the questions, two questions in the chat box as well. Doug, please, you can ask your question.
Okay, what I want to ask is the dashes. Is it the same for all the charts? Like all the four that you give it?
Yes, please, yes. That is it. Either three dashes or three inverted commas. Yes, they are the same for all the tools. Yeah. So
Doug, please, I think the voice is low a bit so that everyone can hear.
Okay.
Did you hear my question?
Not very well, please.
Okay. Let me get closer. The question was the dashes or the inverted commas. Is it the same for all all the four that is given? Like maybe this one we see should be directed with this, that one should be directed with that. But it says it's the same for all.
Yeah. All right. So can we go over the questions on the chat?
Doug, please, I don't know if everyone heard your response for the question.
Yes. So he was asking if the dashes and then they said he inverted commerce, right? Were the same for all tools, and I said yes, yes. All the tools have the same format, so you give it a row. The separators are either inverted commas or dashes, so they are the same for all the tools. Yeah.
Okay, Doc. All right. So the first question is from Dr. William Bando. Said, given the benchmark performance of DeepSeek against Chat GPT, is there any reason why you didn't include it in the list of recommended AI?
Not really. I think because ChatGPT is the most widely used one, so that's why I included ChatGPT instead of the DeepSeek. I think DeepSeek is fairly new, and then yes, it's fairly new. So I think I just went by which one was the most popular, and then also with kind of prompt engineering, it doesn't matter which tool you use. So you can use it with ChatGPT, with DeepSeek, stuff like that. So once you know how the techniques of writing a good prompt, it doesn't matter which AI tool to use.
All right, Doc, thank you. And another question from our National Vice President, Dr. Marty. To what extent do these tools reduce the ability of humans to be more innovative? Any caution in terms of the use of AI, and how can we be more responsible in the use of AI? Say thank you for your presentation. So that's the question, Doc.
Yeah, this is the questions that we are always asking ourselves, right? AI is actually making us probably a little bit lazy and stuff like that, right? But what is most important is that you have to know exactly what you're doing. You have to know your task as a researcher or as an academic. So what you do is that with the tasks that repeat themselves, for instance, I want to have to read through a whole text in order to be able to set questions, right? What can happen is that the AI tool is just here to help us, right? I can use the tool to set questions as quickly as possible. But the thing is that I have to go through those questions to make sure that they are actually appropriate, right? So the AI tools are just here to make our work easier, right? They don't, and then it's once your work is easier, what happens is that it frees you, or it gives you more time to be involved in other stuff, right? Other than trying to read through the whole textbook to find questions, or to read the whole textbook to find some information, right? I can just feed that textbook or whatever into the tool and ask it some questions, and then it just feeds me the information from the book, other than going through it all, right? So this has saved me time, right? And then after that saved me time, I have a lot more time to be engaged in whatever I want to do. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc. I think for now that's all. Dr. Boedu Ajibwa Asante, I think his question was similar to Dr. William Bando. So, Doc, please, we can continue. Thank you.
So here we have learned how to effectively separate content from instructions, right? Okay, so now another important prompting technique is that you have to ask. Sometimes you are writing a prompt, but you don't know the specific questions to ask, right? Or you don't know the specific kind of information to add to the prompt, right? So what you do is that you always have to ask the AI to before it answers, right? Okay, write an email to this colleague and stuff like that. Then you tell it that ask me any question that you think is useful, right? So the AI tool will ask you some questions, and then once you answer them, it will give you the answer, right? For instance, so it means that here we are adding more to it, right? You have your role, your goal, you have added your constraint and extra information. And then what you say is that before answering, I want you to first ask for any extra information that helps you produce a better answer. If you have no question, please provide the answer instead. So here, what the tool does is that it goes through your prompt, and then all the information it will need in order to answer that prompt it will give it to you, and then you will refine your prompt, give it more answers, and then it will give you an answer. So that is always better than you giving it a generic kind of prompt, and then it gives you an answer, then you try to refine it. So ask it before it answers. So ask it some questions, and then it will give you some questions. You will answer those questions, and then it will refine your answers for you. Right? For instance, here I can say that you are an email writing assistant. Write an email to a colleague researcher that you need feedback on your submitted draft paper by the end of the week. The email should be friendly, yet determined, right? Make it clear that the feedback is needed by the end of the week. Now, before answering, I want you to ask for any extra information that will help produce a better answer. If you have no question, please provide the answer, right? If you do this, the AI tool sometimes will ask you some questions, you answer them, then it refines the answer. So for instance, I can just copy this, put it into my Gemini. And let's see the results it gives us. Okay, so it says that is a great request. To make sure the email is tailored and effective, could you please provide a few key details? What is the name of your colleague? So you can see that I didn't provide the name of my colleague in there, right? What is the title or main topic of the paper, right? And it says that even a short phrase is okay. Is there a specific section like the methodology or discussion where you need their feedback the most, right? So this one, once I've gotten some questions from the tool, I just come and just write one, right? I'm referencing the questions it's giving me. All I have to do is referencing with the number. So one, what is the name of my colleagues? I say Dr. Kofi or whatever. Right. So here, what another important trick and technique is that if I'm typing, right? If I'm typing into the text box of the tool, and then most of the time I want to move to the next line, right? And then I'm tempted to hit enter. Once I hit enter, the tool will begin answering, right? So the technique is that you press the shift on your keyboard, then you press enter. So that is, people always struggle with that. So just press shift and then press enter, and then you move to the next line. Because once you press enter and then you think it moved to the next line, the tool just begins to answer the question, right? So then now my next question is what is the main title, the title of the main topic? I just say AI or whatever. Then I shift, then enter again. The last one is what specific section do you want it, where you need feedback the most? I just say the discussion, something. Then after that, I hit enter. All right, so now it will write the email for me, feedback request, AI draft paper. It does, I'll finalize and all of that. So now here it has tailored or those questions or those answers the questions give you, and then the answers you give it. It will include that. It will take that, and then it will give you a better answer, right? With all that information within the answer, right? Okay, so our last thing on the prompt engineering is emotional prompting. It is always good to always consider the emotion or tone of the user's query, right? So now what happens is that, for instance, right, I lecture in a school and then I receive an email from a student after the end of my course, right? But I think there's a question on the chat. Can we answer that?
Yeah. Okay, Doug. If you please, should I read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. From Dr. Roland Asare. Sometimes, yeah, okay. So he said, is there, I don't know if he's Dr. but I'll address him likewise. Is there a way to validate the feedback or information provided by a given AI tool?
Yes, yes. So that is where your expertise in the subject area comes in, right? So it means that is where the tool, as I said, the tools come to help us. So you must be an expert in the subject area, and then you must be using it to make your work easier. So perhaps I ask it for some kind of data, right? And then once it gives me the data or that information, I need to be able to verify that information. So I need to go to the appropriate kind of agencies or wherever sources, and then I should be able to verify before I submit anything the tool generates. So it's very important. So that's where your expertise comes in, right? So you first of all have to know the subject area well. You have to know where the sources come or where you can find the sources to actually validate what the tool has given you. Yeah. Can we continue? Oh, it's my
Yes,
internet.
please. You can continue, though.
Okay, so now our last technique for the day is known as emotional prompting. As I said, for instance, you took a course and then you receive a student complaint, right? The student said that the subject would be more understanding if practical sessions were introduced in the course, right? So here you have to respond to this student, right? So now you have to always make sure that you respond appropriately. For instance, perhaps when you receive the email, like it's kind of it didn't make you happy that the students was trying to suggest something to you, right? So, but when you are responding, you shouldn't respond in a way that would seem that you are actually annoyed by what the student said. So here, that's where we consider the emotions involved, right? So I can just copy this. Right? So the subject will be more understanding if practical sessions were introduced. So when drafting, so I tell the tool that write an email response to the student. And then I tell you that when drafting the response, take the sentiment and tone of the students into account, right? And it will just generate a very, very probably a friendly email for me. Right. So it says, dear, probably the Vincent, thank you for your time to share your valuable feedback. I understand your feelings, all of that. Now, I could have just said that it should respond with a very angry tone, but some of the tools will actually restrict you because of nowadays issues with mental health and stuff like that. Right. So sometimes with some of the tools, if you say, okay, respond with a very angry tone, the tool will tell you that no, it won't do that because it might hurt the student, right? So it will always respond with a friendly tone, right? So that is one thing about the tools, right? It is they are being they are being designed to always consider people's mental health and stuff like that. So if you wanted to generate anything that is violent or that is anger related and stuff like that, the tool will simply tell you that no, they can't do that because it violates some kind of terms and conditions, right? So always the tool wants everybody to be happy, and then they want to generate responses that are always positive, right? Okay, so I think that's all for today's session, and then the main takeaway of it is that we have to always automate the routines in our work, and then once we automate, and then once we use these tools to enhance our work, we create more space to use our brains to actually develop things that are really innovative. So thank you very much. Any question?
Thank you, Doc. Please, the floor is open for questions, Q&A section. So please ask your question there. Tomorrow we'll continue with the practical. Okay, so we have a hand. I think I saw a hand up. Please, you can unmute if you had your hand up. I think you do JMF.
Please, that was a mistake. So sorry about
Okay.
that.
All right, that's okay. So that's the slide, the link to the slide has been shared on the national platform, so you can access it.
Please, some of us are not on the national platform, so
okay,
how do
so
we get it?
we'll make it available to the respective secretaries, and then they'll share it on your platforms. But we'll also open up later for others who are not on the national platform to join through the link as well.
All right.
Okay, thank you. So, Doc, please, I have a question before maybe anyone comes in. I hear people saying you need to. I know you when you were going to the training, talked about the prompt. Is it a must? Like I hear people, you have to learn the prompt to be able to like command it like the command it to the chat GPT. Is it true that there's a special way to learn the prompt, or you can just start with an easy like message to it and it will just give you what you need? Please, can you give more information on that?
So yes, that's what I was talking about. You giving it some kind of a structure, right? The first thing is that you must give it a role. So that is the formula of a good prompt. You must give it a role. Your next, you must give it a goal. Then your last thing is you must give it constraints, right? So as I said, once you open it, once you open any chat at all, what happens is that it starts from a blank slate mostly, right? And then the blank slate means that it's going to assume the persona of everything. Like I mean, it's a jack of all trades, right? So it knows it can assume the persona of a doctor, of a teacher, of a so everything. So you always have to limit it, right? And give it a role. That's the first thing. Once you give it a role, like for instance, I wanted to write an article for me in my field, which is AI. I can say that you are a researcher in the field of AI. So in that way, you're giving it a role, and then it will ignore all the rules of like trying to write it from the perspective of a medical doctor or a nurse or stuff like that. Then it will assume the role of researcher. Then you give it the goal, write an article about AI or whatever. Then you give it some kind of extra information. The article should be short, right? The audience are high school students or university students. And then probably at the end of the day, it should give me or highlight the importance of AI in education and stuff like that. So that is normally the formula. Give it a role, give it a goal, and give it extra information. Yeah.
All right, Doc. Thank you. So please, there was a hand up, Godfred, but there's also a question in the chat box. So I think maybe Godfred can go ahead, ask his question, then we answer the question in the chat. So please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc, for the presentation and the insight. Doc, I've been told that most of the time when you use the AI tool to generate content, let's say an abstract or some document, it should be better that you humanize it, because sometimes when you submit those documents to, let's say, a journal or let's say an academic institution, they have a system that can track that you use AI, and that one will shoot you down. So how true is it? And then what would you advise when we use AI to generate content? You left it and then you paste and you use it, or what do we do? Thank you.
Yes, yes. I mean, that is a growing concern. And so now, I think now with Turnitin, if you have a Turnitin account and then you upload your papers there, it doesn't only give you similarity check. It gives you AI content generated, right? Now, the flaw is that you just, if you have Turnitin, just sit down to write a one-page article from your head. Just sit down, write a one-page article from your head and upload it onto the Turnitin. It will tell you that part of it is AI generated, right? So that is some of the flaws with some of these tools, with some of these tools that we use to check, because and then we have done that experiment over and over. You just sit down to write an article from the scratch, from your head, without anything. You upload it. It still tells you that it's 10% AI generated, even though you generate it from your head. So what is always important is that you can avoid it. Once you upload once you upload any text, whether it's from the AI tool or not, it will give you some percentage that it is AI generated. But there's always a limit, right? They always say that it should be probably below 20% AI generated and stuff like that. So if you in research, we don't just lift from these tools and just submit, right? It will help you generate some parts of the paper. For instance, if I'm writing a research paper, some parts that is very, very tedious is literature review, right? And then that for that part, I can use AI to generate it, and then I can easily modify it a bit, right? But I don't use AI to generate an entire paper and submit it. That one they will easily detect that it is above 20% AI generated. So as much as possible, with the content you generate, know the parts that you must use the AI. I mean, for research papers, it is mostly the literature review. Yeah.
Hello, Doc.
Thank you.
My concern was, for instance, you've written your paper or your document and you want the AI tool to sort of fine tune things for you. So you generated the content yourself and then you load it there for it to, let's say, fine tune things, remove redundancy, repetition, and stuff. At the end of the day, the final document, what do you do so that the system may not detect it and then maybe say that you used AI for it? Thank you.
So that's what I'm saying. No, the tools they're using right now are not perfect. That's what I'm saying. If you even sit down to write a research paper straight from your head and still upload it to those tools, they will still give you a percentage of AI generated content, right? That's what they tell you. So you can't just avoid it. Once you made it to modify some parts for you, do this for you, it will actually tell you that some parts of the documents are AI generated. But as I said, with all the journals nowadays, they always say that there's an acceptable range that is acceptable for print, and it should be below 20%, right? So when you generate your document with the AI tool, you must always use those Turnitin or whatever to check the percentage of the generated. As I said, it's not, there can never be 0% AI generated, even with your own content. Like you generating content from the scratch, it will never be 0%. We have tried it and we have seen that. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc, for the answer. I think I'll ask a question from the chat box from Mekuya Afrakuma Amu, and then Dr. Franklin Abonyo can ask this question. So the question in the chat box is, how polite must you be in writing the prompts? Is it better to be precise?
How polite? So you were trying to use words like please and thank you, right? I mean, so they are saying, I think some few months ago, ChatGPT was saying that people are wasting their service by saying thank you, because I mean, if you understand how the algorithms work, they are using service, right? So your queries go to the server, and then it does some kind of, I mean, AI, it does some kind of neural networking stuff, like some kind of complex algorithm before it generates the answer. So anytime you give it a prompt, and at the end of the day, you will think the prompt is very good, and then you say thank you, you are actually you are actually wasting their resources. So it's always advisable to just go straight to the point, rather than being so polite, saying thank you and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Doc, for your question. Dr. Abonya, please, you can ask your question.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. I work with Animal Research Institute, so I just want you to throw some light on this situation. Assuming I want to develop a concept note, okay, and this one is for a funding partner, and I'm thinking of a 4-page document in the area of grazing animals, interacting with the environment, the vegetation, and then the impact, and then the climate change and stuff like that. And I have an outline, for instance, the title, the objective, background information and stuff like that, approach and stuff. Generally, I want to, you've already given us an idea about how to approach this, but can you still spend a little more time to kind of give some guidance, like to let, especially if you don't have much time, and then you want an idea and then later probably polish up and stuff like that. Is that possible? And then how can you go about it? Thank you.
Yes. So what usually happens is that okay, you are writing a proposal to a funding kind of agency, right? So what happens is that you have the core, right? I think it's called the core, right? The proposal core, in which they have listed the areas they want and everything they want, right? So what we do is that you take that document, right, the core document, and upload it onto the tool.
Well, sorry, not to cut you short, but this one could be an unsolicited. There's no call, but then you want to initiate that funding opportunity. So you are thinking of something, and then you want to present, something short for consideration. So
yes. I mean, they are all kind of, so if you have a funding call, you can upload the funding call documents to the tool. And then I think most funding calls always have outline. I mean, so for your case, there's no funding call at all, there's nothing at all, but you just want to generate a concept note, right? But it means that you need to have some kind of target, like which funding agency or which funding kind of opportunity are you targeting? Because the tool must know, oh, I'm targeting this kind of this, I'm targeting this, I'm targeting this. Once you know that, because each funding call or agency have a structure, right? And then their areas. So once you know the specific one, then it becomes easier, because you just upload their structure. Okay, they want it in this form. First of all, the abstract, the whatever. So you upload that document to it, and then you tell it that it should give you, first of all, even if you have no idea at all, once you upload the document, and then another very important thing is that as you are chatting with the tool, right, it is learning more about you, right? It knows where you work, it knows your background, it knows your area and stuff like that. So you just ask the tool that, oh, based on this call or based on this, generate 4 or 5 ideas for me based on my area of research, right? So it will generate about 4 or 5 ideas for you. And then you can always say that, okay, expand on idea 1, idea 2, idea 3, or combine idea 1 or 2 or 3 together and give me one proposal, and then give it this format, abstract, this, and stuff like that. I think that's how we always go about it.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Please, Isaac or Saibos, please, you can ask your question.
All right, thank you very much for the wonderful presentations. So my question is, I know one of the major problems with AI is hallucination. Um, and is there a way to, coin your prompts so that it's able to avoid hallucinations, and especially hallucinations regarding references? Sometimes it can give you false references, not existent ones. So is there a way to create a prompt so that you can avoid those? Thank you very much.
Yes. So that all has to do with your prompt engineering kind of skill. So as I said, once you are about to set up the tool, once you have logged in and you are actually setting up, right? You have to always make sure that you set up, like for instance, if let me see, so for chat GPT like this, for the personalization, right? You always have to tell it that do not hallucinate. If 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 there's no source available, do not state it. But you see, ChatGPT is is much more creative than the rest, right? Very creative, right? So the rest of the tools like Gemini, like this is Gemini, and then other tools, Claude, AI, help the DeepSeek and stuff like that, right? They are not that creative, right? They just give you they are able to source information and just give it to you like that without being extra creative and generating kind of references that don't exist. So you must tell the tool that, and then once you must tell the tool in the setup, it's very important that never hallucinate. If a source is not available, please do not provide it. Stuff like that. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Doc. And Shaibu, please, you can ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. I want to find out from our guest speaker. I am familiar with, I usually use ChatGPT and Grok. And in the past, I used to have the history of all the questions that or all the prompts that I put to read. And quite recently, I've lost all the history. So when I open any of them, I don't get the history to my left side of the screen. So it's wiped out completely. I don't know what is happening.
No, I mean that is interesting, but it will always be there. So as I said, for if you go to chat, chat, sometimes the history can be full, right? Perhaps mistakenly you deleted the history. So anytime you chat with it again, right? Does it store the history or it doesn't?
So it doesn't store the history anymore.
Okay, so it means that
I've lost all and I start to use it again, it doesn't store the history.
so it means that I think your temporary chat has been turned on some way somehow. So this is the temporary chat that is turned on. So once I turn on this and then I give it any chat, it doesn't store anything, right? It just gives me the chat, and then if I close it, then that's it. So perhaps your temporary chat is turned off.
Please, where is it on the screen? So that I'll take note of that.
So if I click on a new chat, you see your right, the last end.
Okay. Okay, I've seen it.
That's the temporary chat. So you must always turn it off.
Okay,
So
all right.
yes, on, it's off. So perhaps that can be one of the, and then you must also go through your settings.
Okay.
At times, perhaps you are not in the settings. You are saying that it shouldn't save any chat. So just go through the settings and see what you can find there. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Please, we have we have 26 minutes more to end this section. So if you have more questions, please do ask. Tomorrow, as Doc said, is going to be more practical. So, Godfrey, please, you can go ahead.
Doc, when you reach your daily limit, what is the duration? When should you, or will you get access again? I mean, how many hours for the trial version?
Yeah, sometimes it's about 24 hours. But I think they always give you the time there. Once you hit your daily limit, they tell you that you can come back again around 1:30 or something. So they always give you the time, but mostly it's about 1 day.
A question here. I would like to know if the number of, you said you can have, if let's say you are paying like $20, and then you can put in some people. Do you know the maximum number of people you can put in? Any? Is there anything like that? Or let's say if instead we choose to pay for maybe the business, can we all be on it for 1 month?
Okay, so
have you checked the number?
Yes. What happens is that it depends on how much you can pay. So, like if I take that GPT and I say I go to upgrade and I choose the business plan, right? So get business. So here, depending on how much I have, or depending on how much your institution have, it's what they'll give you. So if you take 5 people, it's $30 per seat. So they do it 30 times 5. If you can take as much as you want. So that they don't. Okay, I think they will have a limit. So up to 10 seats, and everything is about 300 cities a month. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So you can go as much. So they don't care. It's just that you will be paying more. The more people you add, the more you pay. Yeah.
Okay, though. I think maybe I'm sure we have exhausted. A lot of people have asked their questions, so thank you very much, Dr. Kuji. Please, I hope I pronounced
Bochi.
Gochi. Okay, Gochi. Thank you very much, Doug, for the presentation today. It was very insightful, informative, and useful for us. So we'll continue at the same time tomorrow at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. As he said, tomorrow is a practical section. So we'll put on the platform with I or my vice put on the platform the requirements for tomorrow, and then we'll share the Zoom link. So we sincerely apologize again for today, for the capacity for today, but tomorrow it will be on a Zoom link, so we can have everyone participating. Okay, so thank you very much. So we will have a closing prayer. Dr. Latifa, Dr. Latifa too. Mohammed Aja, please can you close us with closing prayer, please?
Hello, can I pray?
Yes, please.
We thank God for bringing this section to a close. We are very grateful to Dr. Gookyi and the whole RSA team. Thank you all. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. See you all tomorrow. And please let us all be on time, because tomorrow is going to be more practical and interactive as well. Thank you all for making it possible for this program to come on. See you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gookyi.